So the movie that is absolutely the talk of town right now is the new movie Weapons. It is directed by Zach Cregger, which is also the guy that directed the movie Barbarian, which I've heard a lot of good stuff about, which is absolutely a movie that I'll be watching after watching Weapons. There is so much to say about this movie, but obviously I do not want to give any spoilers whatsoever, so everything will be on the light side. So let's just start off by saying, is the movie gonna be everybody's cup of soup? You'll get that one later. I don't think it will. Did I personally enjoy it? Yes, I did. There are both good things and bad things about this movie, like there are with most movies, to be honest with you. The thing is about this movie that I don't necessarily know if I want to really call this a horror movie. It's much more so like a thriller with a mixturing in of horror. I do think if you're expecting like a heavily horror movie, this is not really what you should be expecting going into this movie. It definitely has those elements, and obviously like the further you get into it, the more that starts to be a thing, but like a lot of it is definitely not. Now that's kind of like both a good and a bad thing. It really depends on your type of feel towards movies like this, but it definitely doesn't necessarily hurt this movie, although maybe I would have liked it to have a bit more of it. I'm kind of in a weird spot how I feel about this part. But the movie kind of consists of a bunch of different perspectives and stories from different people throughout the movie. And you might be watching some of those perspectives being like, well, I don't know why I'm watching this right now. But the further you get into it, all of those subtle and small details and even big details that does happen throughout these different people's stories, it much more makes sense the more everything comes together in the end. So I'm kind of almost gonna say, just kind of stick with it and really focus on what's going on. Don't really lose your focus while a story might not really grab you in as much as the one before or anything like that. Stay with it and really make sure you focus and get those different details, because I do think that's very important. I think the tone of the movie is absolutely awesome. It makes you keep on asking those different questions of what's really going on. Like, am I really gonna get an answer to all of this? And like, what the hell is happening in general? That might be a feeling that you're gonna have a lot throughout this movie, which I personally absolutely freaking love watching a movie like a horror movie. I really want to have those questions, and I don't necessarily need a complete package answer to everything like that. I still want to be like, okay, that's definitely something that like, like, how do I feel about that? And like, it's kind of hard to explain like without going into too much spoiler. So it's definitely a very interesting movie to say the least. I do think from what I saw from the trailers and everything like that leading up to this movie, it definitely doesn't feel the same type of feel that I had watching those trailers. I definitely feel like it felt very different actually watching the movies than what I got from the trailers. I actually did like the trailers, but I just don't feel that it was really, I don't really know how to explain that part, man. But yeah, there's just something different about the movie than there was for the trailers. I do think this movie is very fun. I do think it's very interesting. I do think this movie is gonna end up doing well. I've seen a lot of great reviews in this movie, but like if I were to see someone say that they just did not like this movie whatsoever, I guess in a sense I would understand their perspective, but from my personal opinion, I very much so enjoyed it. I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh wow, that was a 10 out of 10 movie, but if I were to give the movie a rating, I would probably put it in the realm of like a 7.5 to an 8. I don't necessarily know if I feel like I'll ever be rewatching this movie ever again. I will more than likely say that this is kind of like the type of movie where it's like a good one-time watch, but I don't necessarily know that it has a crazy amount of rewatch value to it. That isn't necessarily a good or a bad thing about a movie. That's just sometimes good movies just have like a one watch type value, man, and that's it, you know. But as an overall feel, I really do feel like the movie it was a solid freaking movie. In terms of the ending, I think a lot of people is going to have very many different perspectives and feelings about the ending of the movie. My personal feeling about the ending of the movie, I'll say I'm very much so 50-50. If there was anything in the movie that might possibly have dragged it a little bit down for me, I do think it's the ending, but I also don't necessarily hate it. I feel like it's one of those ones that like, if I juggle it through my mind, like I literally just got done watching the movie, like 20 minutes ago, I think it's like 20 minutes ago that I got done watching the movie, right? So I definitely like want to like roll it through my head, go over it a few different times and stuff like that, and then maybe I'll either like the ending a bit more or a bit less. It's kind of like a tough one for me right now. I like to go and like think about a movie that I enjoy and like kind of like mumble on it for a few days in my head, and then I kind of come to a better conclusion to everything. But as an overall, I really enjoyed the movie. I do recommend the movie. I think it's an awesome watch. So yeah, Weapons, interesting movie, man. I can't wait to see what people are going to say about it. I think it's definitely going to be a lot of different opinions in this one.